So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning for a webinar through the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. Today, the new Air Traffic Consumer Report will be presented by Blaine Workey. Blaine Workey is the Assistant General Counsel for the Office of Aviation Enforcement and Proceedings at the U.S. Department of Transportation. Blaine heads an office of attorneys, transportation industry analysts, and support staff charged with investigating and enforcing the department's aviation, economic, and civil rights requirements. Blaine also oversees the office's rulemaking activities involving aviation consumer protection and civil rights matters. In addition, she manages the issuance of the department's Air Travel Consumer Report, a monthly report that provides information on the quality of services provided by the airlines. Before joining the Office of Aviation Enforcement and Proceedings, Blaine worked as a regulatory attorney in the Office of General Counsel, serving as a legal advisor to the Secretary of Transportation. Previously, Blaine also served as a Special Assistant U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. Blaine received her bachelor's degree from the University of Virginia and her law degree from Georgetown University Law Center. With that, I'll turn this presentation over to Blaine.
Good morning, everyone. Well, as you know, we're here today to talk about the Air Travel Consumer Report. It's a monthly product of the Department of Transportation. The department has been issuing the ATCR in one form or another for over 3 decades. The report provides airline service quality data to the public and ranks reporting carriers' performances based on several categories. The ATCR's performance tables, including the rankings, are widely accepted as important indicators of the airline's quality of service. 3 of the 6 categories ranked and reported in the ATCR, flight delays, mishandled baggage, and oversales, are based on data collected by the Department's Bureau of Transportation Statistics. The ATCR also contains information on consumer complaints, airline animal incidents, and customer service reports to TSA. Today's discussion will focus on upcoming changes in the Air Travel Consumer Report, primarily on the displays of flight delays, cancellations, oversales, and consumer complaints. The ATCR will include for the first time information on the operational data for codeshare flights operated by the reporting carriers. That is flights sold under a mainline brand that are operated by other carriers. This will be one of the biggest changes, if not the biggest change, in more than 3 decades since the department has been issuing the ATCR. And we are making these changes to give consumers more information than they are already getting from the ATCR. We believe this will be valuable as it fixes a gap in the reporting and provides an apples-to-apples comparison among airlines. Specifically, the ATCR will include on-time performance, cancellations, tarmac delays, denied boarding data, and consumer complaints, not only for the domestic scheduled flights that the reporting carriers operate, but also for the domestic scheduled flights that they market under their code that's operated by another carrier. We have delayed posting this data in the ATCR for 6 months because we wanted to ensure that it is accurate, since that, again, this is a very significant change, and inaccurate data is of little use to consumers. The department plans to make this data available in August. I believe everyone has been provided a sample of the ATCR, and if you go to page 3, of the report, and I'll wait a moment to give everybody an opportunity to get to page 3. You will see that there are 5 carriers, American, Alaska, Delta, Hawaiian, and United, that market scheduled flights that are operated by other carriers but that are branded codeshare flights. So again, for the first time, we will be providing data in the ATCR not only on the flights operated by these 5 airlines, but also their branded codeshare partners. Why don't we start with some examples? So if you go to the next page, which is page 4, and it's table 1, you will see on table 1, this is a new table. The table shows, well, the table doesn't have any data in it right now, but when it's issued, it will have on-time performance arrivals, and the airlines will be ranked by marketing carrier. So this is the first time we would have on-time arrivals by marketing carrier. So you'll see for first line here says Alaska Airlines, so you'll see what the data is for Alaska Airlines for the flights they operate, as well as for Alaska Airlines, all of the flights that they market, so for their branded codeshare partners. The next table, which is on page 5, is a table that already exists in the ATCR, and we will continue to have this table, which is on-time arrivals by operating carrier. And just like we will be ranking the marketing carriers on table 1, in table 1A, we will be ranking the marketing carriers. Before I go on to give you other examples, I do want to tell you a little bit about why the department decided to provide information about marketed carriers. Now, if we looked at data for the first 5 months of 2008 and 2018, I'm sorry, for the first 5 months of 2018, and one of the things that was clear was that the branded codeshare partners accounted for a little over 25% of the passengers that are carried. Also, if you look at the flights themselves, more than half of the domestic flights were by codeshare partners. So again, this was data that we think, this is data that we believe will be valuable to consumers. The other reason in terms of including this data is that, you know, some of the carriers that don't have as much codeshare flights, like a Southwest or a JetBlue, their data in the ATCR essentially consists of 100% of their operations. But for the legacy carriers, the data that had previously been provided in the ATCR, because it did not include the branded codeshare partners, accounted for, you know, about 50%. So there was a lot of data that had not previously been included that we will start including in the ATCR, but again, we believe would be helpful to the public because it will provide a more complete picture of domestic flights. So I don't know whether we should go on, Noah, or whether I should take questions on table 1 before moving on to the other tables.
I think that if anyone has a question, we could take it now. Anyone who's online, please feel free to just type in questions as you have them, and then we can pause to address them as we go. Okay. So the next table, you know, I won't go for each of the tables. You guys do have the samples, but I know cancellation always gets a lot of attention. So if we move to table 6, which is on page 12. Let's see. Okay, so table 6 has information about flight cancellations by marketing carrier. Again, this is a new table because we previously did not have data on cancellations by marketing carrier. The marketing carriers will be ranked. The information you have now, they're just listed in alphabetical order because the sample doesn't have any real numbers in it. But when we are ready to issue this in August, the airlines will be ranked by marketing carrier for flight cancellations. The following table, which is table 6A, is a table that currently exists
in the ATCR, and it's flight cancellations by operating carrier. So again, the goal with the new ATCR is to provide the public information not only by operating carrier, but also by marketing carrier. So similar to the flight cancellation, we provide similar sort of information for oversales. So as you know, oversales data is reported quarterly. It's not provided monthly like the on-time performance. So the August report that the department will issue will have 2 months worth of oversales data. So if you look at page 20, let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I misspoke and I said 2 months. I meant to say we'll have 2 quarters worth of oversales data. So if you look at page 20, again, you will see that the oversales data, where previously it was provided only by operating carrier, will now also be provided by marketing carrier. And the format for the oversales is similar to the format for on-time performance, cancellations, and other data that's also going to be available by marketing carrier, in that we identify the network carrier and underneath provide information about the flights operated by that carrier and then the branded code share. But again, in August, we will have 2 quarters worth of data for oversales. The next page, page 21, has a table that has been in existence for quite some time, which is rankings of denied boarding by operating carriers. So we are also doing we're making a similar sort of change in complaints. So if you look, let's see, what's a good table? If we look at table 6, so if you look at page 27, if you look at page 27, you will see data about marketing carriers. This table does differ slightly from the other tables that we've been discussing, in that the complaints table will not have a ranking by marketing carrier. It will have information about the raw number of complaints that the airlines received. We're not able to rank at this time because we don't have the enplanement data for the marketing carriers. And just so you have a better understanding of why I'm saying that, if you can go back to page 3, which identifies who the branded codeshare partners are for the mainline carriers, you will notice that there are some carriers that operate for more than one airline. So for example, if you look at SkyWest Airlines, SkyWest operates for American, for Alaska, for Delta, and for United. So the department has data on enplanements for flights that SkyWest operates as a combined data. We do not have data for enplanement data for flights that SkyWest operates separately for each of the main line. So as a result, the table 6 for consumer complaints will have data about the raw number of complaints, but we will not be ranking them, as the ranking is based on enplanement. We will continue to have table 6A, which is consumer complaints and ranked by large U.S. operating carriers. So table 6A will continue to be available. And then, So those are the main changes. There are other tables that are new. If you look, I'm going back now, but if you look, for example, at flight arrivals at the 30 largest airports, you will notice that we provide the flight arrivals not only by operating carrier, but also by by marketing carrier. And this is important because a lot of the branded codeshare partners tend to operate at the smaller airports. Actually, I meant to point out the one that had the other ones. But a lot of the branded codeshare partners do operate at smaller airports, so you will be able to see that data available. In addition to the Air Travel Consumer Report having data on the 30 largest airports, there is more detailed information available on BTS's website. So if there's a specific airport that you or the public may be interested in that's not included in the ATCR, there are other places, public websites that individuals can access to receive that information. In addition, we have Table 5, which has on-time arrival and departure by airport. So that has more than the 30 largest airports. Any questions? I guess one other thing I will mention is that the Air Travel Consumer Report, the new Air Travel Consumer Report, we added a lot of tables, but we also removed one table. So we did remove a table which in the prior ATCR was in Table 5 that dealt with chronically delayed flights. We removed it because we did not think that this table was particularly useful to consumers. We have never really received any questions on that report, either from consumers or reporters. So because we were cognizant of the fact that the ATCR is going to be lengthier because we did add a number of tables to provide data by marketing carrier, we did remove the table that addressed chronically delayed flights. So I will stop with that. Any questions?
It seems like we also have participants who've been unable to log into the Adobe Connect web room. If that's the case, we'll open the phone lines up at the end of the presentation. Is this a good time to do that now, to open the phone line for questions?
Sure, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and unmute the line, and then if you have a question, you're on the line, you can write in. Okay.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
So please go ahead and mute yourself on your own line if you're not going to ask a question.
Hello, I have one question.
Sure.
It's Justin Bachman with Bloomberg News. On the tables that I was looking at here, for example, the denied boardings table where it has the carrier and then under that branded code share, is that, you might have addressed this earlier and I missed it, but is that branded code share number going to be a accumulation of various partners that they have, or will that actually be labeled at that point by each carrier that they code share on?
So that will be a combined number. So it's
Okay.
not going to be a separate number for each branded code share partner, but an aggregate.
Okay, and will it label at least the carriers that they are using?
Yes, if you look at page 3 of the report, whenever we are talking about branded codeshare partners, identified who we're talking about. So it's different for each airline, but we have identified the airlines.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Welcome.
Do we have any other questions from anyone on the phone line? Okay. Blaine, do you have any other points you'd like to cover?
No, I think that's it. I think the main thing really is that we are pretty excited about the new ATCR because we do think that it will provide a more complete picture to the flying public about the operational performance of airlines. So again, through public affairs, if people have any follow-up questions, they should feel free to send them.
Okay, great. If that's all, then we'll sign off here, and feel free to, if you're in the web room, to continue posting questions in the chat pod if you haven't already, and we'll forward those on to Blaine. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending the webinar. We really appreciate it, and look forward to hearing any questions you may have.